Hello everyone. Well, I got a lot more done here recently. I did take off some time between Christmas and New Year, so I didn't do a whole lot of videotaping, but I did get a little bit done here. So I'm by myself. I don't have a cameraman today, so let me do the best I can, show you everything that I've done. So as you can see, I got the tail boom going on here. Let me walk around and get a better view of it here. As you can see, it's starting to shape up. Best thing about it now, it's starting to look like a helicopter, and that gets to be pretty exciting. But anyhow, tell you a little bit about this tail boom. Of course, it's held on by these struts going down to the frame, and then it's attached up here by the engine area with a drive shaft going through the center. And I'll explain a little bit about this drive shaft. It comes through the tail boom on a couple bearings, and I'll get back to that a little bit later. But then on here is a flex plate, they call it. It's a flex drive, and what it is, this piece of sheet metal here, if you want to call it sheet metal, it can flex between the drive yoke and the drive of the gearbox. And the reason it needs to flex a little bit is because the gearbox is mounted in rubber mounts here. So anytime if you're doing certain maneuvers or anything, that gearbox is made to flex a little bit. So when it does, you don't want this to be rigid. It needs to flex. And being that this is all mounted in secure bearings and such, it has to be able to flex there. And I'm going to go around the other side and give you a little better idea how that works. There again, this plate here is the flex plate, and it's mounted onto the drive shaft with this yoke. Now that yoke, it has some safety features built into it. If for some reason bolts ever came loose or whatever, the bolts could be completely gone, and it'll still drive by these bolts here. Now that is a safety feature, and at this point it's just mounted in without any physical hookup. It's got, as you can see, I know it's hard to see, but there's a gap around that bushing here, and that is only going to power the drive shaft if for some reason a bolt came loose or whatever. And so that's all helicopters have that. So that's a good safety feature. And while I got this in the camera here, this is an oil pump that lubricates the main rotor gearbox. It lubricates and cools it. The oil goes down to a radiator, and then you're wondering, how does this work on this shaft? Well, there is another pulley that goes on here. It's in two pieces, so you don't have to pull it apart to slide it on. It bolts in two pieces on that shaft, and it's attached with like a couple Allen type screws, and so it's pretty simple. And then this moves to adjust the belt tension. So as we go along the boom here, there's a bearing that's in this area here, and then a second bearing over here, right in this area. And then on the bottom of this boom, let me back up a little bit. Once you get everything set, and I'm going to show you how that's done, there's an adjustment screw right here that tightens up the bearing. It just holds it. But once you got the holes drilled in that coupling up front, it can't go anywhere anyhow. And then there's the drive here for the tail rotor gearbox. And then there's a special tool. Let me grab it here. There's a tool, this nylon. This is a special tool that's only used to get the rotor, the drive shaft in the right area for the rotor. So all you do is you bolt that on, and it pushes this in in an area where it has to be, and it gives you the correct dimensions needed. So anyhow, and then there's the shaft here that controls the pitch on the tail rotor from the rudder pedals. So, and some of the other things here you can see, in aircraft you always use safety paint on the bolts, and that way when you're doing your inspections, if something it was to come loose, you can see that it moved because the paint is cracked. So anyhow, I did another video just a little bit ago, and I run into these problems on these cameras where what happens is it'll stop recording, and it goes it only records so many minutes, so I had to redo my recording here. Anyhow, moving on, I'm working on the radio gear that we're putting in, and I'll show you a little bit. I do have part of the harness put in here, but I got to move it. It's kind of a hit and miss thing. You got to keep playing around until you get it exactly where you need it, so it fits the plugs and all the connections that's in here. So there's a area down here that fits a weight. There's a weight that'll bolt in this area here, and then there's another weight that goes down in here that's a temporary weight if you need it, depending how you want to load your helicopter, just for weight and balance purposes. And those weights, show you that real quick. These are the weights. Those two weights right there. So let me just go around one more time. I know I move kind of fast with the camera sometimes and get you dizzy. But anyhow, I'm working on the interior, also getting, I'll show you the instrument panel here. It's kind of hard for me to get back to show all of this, but the instrument panel there, that's ready to go in. It's going to fit up there. Well, I shouldn't say it's ready. It's not quite ready. I got a Garmin GPS that's going to fit in this one spot over here, and then the controller that controls the engine and everything. It's basically all computer controlled, and then you can see the wiring and stuff that, like I said, I have to move some of this. It's not exactly in the right area. Got to make sure that the wires fit to the switches and different things that's going on there. So anyhow, I'm gonna have to quit my video right here because sometimes, like I said before, I run out of space and the camera just shuts down. Anyhow, as you can see, it's looking like a helicopter. And a few videos back, I had made a tape here showing the different awards I have got, but I found one more that I totally forgot about. Back in the day, before I retired, I was also Enstrom Service Center, and this was one that I forgot to show. But I had quite a few Enstrom helicopters that I worked on in my shop before I retired. One other note I'd like to say is that if you try to contact me, try not to use YouTube to do it, because what happens is sometimes YouTube, they don't let my comments and stuff go through, or your comments for some reason. So always contact me through my email, and that way I'll get it. Because if I can't get into the system to reply, I don't want people to think that I'm not replying, because I will to everybody. So anyhow, talk to you later. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate it if you subscribe. That helps me out. And give me a like. Thank you. Bye.